Hey there, it's Ingrid. Welcome. Today we're going to work a little bit more with the Stamp of Approval collection. And the Stamp of Approval collection is a curated box of stamps and dies put together by Catherine Pooler. And the bulk of this collection has some Catherine Pooler Designs stamps in there, brand spanking new, never before been released. And it also has some great products by Neat and Tangled this time. She uses lots of different stamp companies to create amazing goodness that is fresh, never before seen. And I'm going to work with the lovely lattice background and the butterfly notes. I love these two pieces in this collection. Actually, I love the whole collection. I've had so much fun playing with the stamps and dies in this collection. It is valued at almost $130. It's on sale for $97, and it goes on sale today, but you have to be on the wait list to find out how to get it. Make sure to click the link in the description area below. So to get started, we're gonna use this cool background stamp. I love this stamp. I've been using it more and more. And I have just a piece of watercolor paper here, and I'm going to ink this up with some Versamark ink. And we'll get that inked up pretty liberally. And we're going to do a little bit of resist sponging. Now, whenever I work with a large background stamp, I always like to ink it up upside down. I find that I get the best image transfer that way. Otherwise, I usually miss a spot. So I'm just going to lay down my watercolor paper, and I have a 140-pound watercolor paper here, and I'm going to use the smooth side. And you might be wondering why I'm using watercolor paper if we're not going to watercolor today. Well, that's a good question. I find that when you blend distress inks, if you really want that super smooth look, watercolor paper is your friend here. It loves that. It loves that medium. So I'm just burnishing the stamp into the smoother side. Just gonna get that transferred really good. And we're not gonna do any embossing. We're gonna actually just add some, and it looks like I had a little bit of ink on mine, but that's okay. So to layer color over our project, I have Twisted Citron, Peacock Feathers, and Blueprint Sketch. I love these colors, and I've never used them in actually this combination, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. We're going to start with the green, and we're going to kind of work downward in shades here. And you can see here that the Versamark image is going to just start to appear. The more ink we lay down here. I'm going to add a little bit of the peacock feathers in the center here. I really love this background stamp. It reminds me of, you know, an antique looking garden gate. It's just beautiful. And you can see how that image is starting to just kind of pop through there. And you can see here, sorry, my camera battery ran out right there. I am using some Blueprint Sketch here, and that's really the darkest shade, and that's really where that image is popping the most. Not so much with the lightest shade, but we'll just add a little bit more up here. I'm using the Ken Oliver Best Ever Craft Mat, and I was so excited to get this product because it doesn't wrinkle, and that's my biggest pet peeve with the one that I always get from Ranger. Although I really love that mat, as you've seen, it's been quite loved. But I was really disappointed, I have to say, because it's not non-stick. Even though it says non-stick on the side of the box, it's still, things stick to it. But you know what? Now that I have both, and this is really, you know, the thing that I can say for those of you who have more than one, if you're going for just one, I would go for the one that's by Ranger because it's a little more versatile. This is fabulous in its own way because it has that little tiny bit of tack to it. I don't need to tape down my paper, which I have to do on the Ranger mat because otherwise it'll go everywhere. And with stenciling and other things, that's fabulous. I mean, I'm still gonna tape down my stencils when I'm doing certain techniques, but I mean, that's just really an awesome thing. So fair warning to those of you who are looking at it, you just need to know that it's not fully non-stick, but it is wonderful for a lot of different applications. I'm really liking this color blend here. So I'm just kind of overlapping my colors here and just kind of you know, getting them to blend a little more. I want to make sure to leave little stripes of the actual color itself so that you can kind of see that. And I love having just that little tiny bit of that background stamp shining through. Now the Twisted Citron is really, really light in hue, so you can see here that you can't see the stamp as much, but it is there. I mean, I can see it just because I know it's there. But you know, Michael, who's going to get this card, probably won't. So you can see here it's got a beautiful, beautiful pattern, and you can't see it as much on this one. Now I'm really happy with that result right there. I just kind of went up and down on the different sides just so that it's not so much a stripe, but it's really pretty. Almost kind of like a meadow, if you will. If you hold it this way, almost like the grass and the sky going into the deeper blue sky in the early evening. Very pretty. Now I've cut my background in two because I want to make two separate cards, and it reminds me of a meadow a little bit, so I'm going to kind of go with that theme since I'm going to use the largest butterfly from the Butterfly Notes collection. This is a fabulous stamp set. I seriously love it. It's got wonderful images, and the thing that's really so great about it is there's so many different perspectives in the butterflies. You have one going off to the side here, a different style of butterfly going another direction. You have a teeny one, a smaller version of this, but yet a little different. And this one is my all-time favorite because it's got the transparent wings, so you can kind of see through to the back, and that's different and unique. I've never really seen one like that before. Not that has a solid and a transparent wing, and you know me, greetings with butterflies. I love it when they put images and greetings together, and really nice greetings too. So I'm taking the largest butterfly here, and we're going to get this inked up in, I can't decide if I'm going to use Squeeze Lemonade or Mustard Seed. Maybe Squeeze Lemonade. It's a little bit more of a bright color, but not so much in your face, and maybe we'll use a little of both. So we're going to get that. To put a little bit, maybe perhaps some of this mustard seed more to the outside. So we have some different inks here kind of mixing together. And that's okay. I'll come back in with the Squeeze Lemonade just to kind of get rid of any unwanted marks. So it's pretty well covered. Let me put a piece of white paper underneath so you can see that. Pretty well covered. Good coverage there. And now I'm going to take the spiced marmalade, which I love spiced marmalade, and that's going to go on the background stamp. But first I'm going to take a little bit of this barn door and just kind of outline my image. Almost like the rock and roll effect if you were to have rolled your butterfly in ink. But I want to be a little more precise, and you really can't do this with the pads. You really need the spots to do this, and I love the spots. If you don't have distress inks and you're trying to decide between them, start with the spots. You'll get a lot more for your money, and honestly they work just fine. I have very few pads. I do have some big pads in the colors that I use a lot, but I don't really use them. I use the spots more than anything. I'm just going to ink up that body with a little bit of that barn door there and the antenna. And then we're going to take that spiced marmalade and I'm going to ink up the same background stamp that we used here. Now I don't need to ink the entire thing up because this stamp is only so big, and we're going to do a little bit of kissing. I'll make sure I have a wide enough area. And I'll take my, trying to see which, I think we'll just go straight up this way. And we'll kiss those together, and what's going to happen is the pattern from the background stamp is going to transfer to my butterfly image. And we'll get a cool effect. And then we'll stamp that. And look at that. What a cool butterfly. Love that. It's beautiful. Now, while this is still a little wet, and this is one of the great things about Distress ink, it stays a little more open than most inks. I can still pop that into some embossing powder and it's completely covered. And now we'll heat set that. So I just ran it into some clear and I preheated my heat tool. I'm using the super fine embossing powder by Brutus Monroe. I love it. It's the icicle powder. That's his clear. Wonderful, wonderful powder. But what do you think? I love it. I love kissing. Kissing is such a fun technique, and I always forget about it. It's kind of one of those older techniques, you know, one of those first ones that you learned and then you just kind of forget about it, but this is going to be very, very pretty on here. Now that we have our butterfly stamped and cut out, and I have one for each card, I am going to just actually have the strip kind of offset here, but I thought that I would do some little detailing. First off, we're going to have a greeting. Now the greeting is going to go down here. So now for a little interest on our card, we're going to do a little bit of extra stamping with this dotted stamp from the Lovely Flowers collection, and I love that stamp set. I've been using it like crazy, and you know, it's funny because I'm not really a type of person to cut out a lot of flowers, but if you notice, yesterday I had a ton cut out, and I still have more projects even coming in the days to come, so be sure to tune in every day on my blog. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of black polka dots going down the side just for a little interest. I thought it would be kind of fun. So let's do that. First, we're going to take our pencil here, and I've just kind of left a little space because I'm going to have a little bit showing out and I want to have some white space there to the end. So just kind of offsetting this a little bit. And I'm going to draw a very light line here. And that's just going to help me as a guide. And then I'm going to bring this and I'm going to move it over so that I have another line on this side. And that line will be hidden once I mat my watercolor paper onto my cardstock. So I have some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and we'll just take this, and I really only need the sides here. I don't need the entire stamp. And we're going to use this fun little side. I love how it juts out on every other row. So that's going to be key for us. I'm going to use that line as a guide, and I'm going to keep 3 of my dots on that line there. And then we're just going to go down, and I'm going to, because I have a couple lines that jut out, I'm going to have to line this up here, because if I stamped it here, then I'd have I'd break the pattern. I'd have a double line here at the same, you know, length here. It wouldn't be, it'd be more indented if I did that. So I'm just going to go right on top of the ones I did before, and it's very easy to do that. And you know what, if you get it's not 100% perfect, don't worry about it. This is really just a supporting piece to our project. Now you could emboss this, and I actually, on my other project, I embossed this in white for something just a real subtle effect. So here are my final 2 projects, and I just wanted to point out something. I want this to be something that's supportive to this. My first one that I did, I actually overstamped it. I went a little too far out, and it just didn't look right. It was just a little too much. So I redid it and just made it just a little bit smaller, because I wanted it to be just something that was fun and whimsical. I didn't want it to overtake the project. And then here is the one that's in the white, and you can't really see it. You're not gonna be able to see it very well in photographs. I mean, you can see here by the shininess, but when I'm looking straight on at it as a viewer, you know, actually physically holding the card, I can definitely see it, and it's just something that's nice and something that's supporting the project. The key is to have a very, very thin, this is actually a better one than this one, a very thin mat so that it doesn't overtake the project. You don't want too much black. I mean, this one has obviously a lot more black. I attached my butterflies by using 2 little mini glue dots right in the center. And then I just want to show you this one thing that I have a tendency to do with butterflies is I'll take a little dimensional, or, you know, a foam dot, anything that you have, and what I do is I just place it strategically someplace where the butterfly will have a little lift. That way, when my recipient gets the card, the butterfly is not always just smashed against the paper. The wings are still going to have that kind of feeling of being in flight. So that those little tiny touches, they can actually do a lot. Now here are going to be I'm going to have some close-ups right here, and I'm going to add some sequins to this, but you don't need to watch me do that. So here are some close-ups. Thanks so much for joining me. We learned a lot of different things. We have a lot of techniques that are packaged into this little teeny tiny card. We have a Versamark Resist with some sponging. We have some kissing, and we have some heat embossing. A lot going on. But if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. You'll be notified of any new content that I deliver to the YouTube Nation. I think you'll really enjoy this collection. There are a lot of great products, and head on over to the blog. There's a lot of great information over there. The link is in the description below. The link to the stamp of approval wait list is below. And if you do end up waiting, these products will be released sometime way, way, way later, probably in 2017. So you'll have to wait till then, but at least you have a couple of great tutorials and a lot on the blog hops. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Bye-bye.